Hello gorgeous ones, how are we? Dr. Lucy here from Real Life Medicine, and tonight I am doing my second episode in the show called Cookings, Coaching and Conversation. So tonight I'm going to show you, what is it, just past 5 o'clock, how to cook a super quick, easy dinner full of nutrition, lots of good protein, beautiful vegetables on the table in probably 20 minutes. So I've actually managed, hopefully, to get my tech sorted tonight. So I've got the phone here recording. This side I've got my laptop so that I can hopefully see your comments and don't have to squint because I can see people watching. Heather, hello darling, how are you? I've been thinking a lot about you. I hope you're okay and that your recovery is going well. And I'm just, as I said, if I watch the video, just got to turn down the volume so that we don't have double, and I'll be able to see your comments. So, there we go. Clara, hello darling, how are you? Oh, good, excellent. Right, my loves. So, Melissa, how are you, sweet? What I'm going to do is get started because I really want to show how you can cook beautiful food in such a short time. Now, I am doing the Clever Girls shortcuts. So, you know, I know that there is what we would call perfect cooking. So perfect cooking would be me going out to my garden and harvesting my vegetables because they would be the most organic and, you know, the most nutritious. And I would be going to my butcher with my basket and my containers and getting the meat sorted there so that I'm not doing any environmental stuff. I get that, and I would love to do that, but I can't do it all of the time at this stage. For whatever reason, and the reason, it's not for whatever reason, the reason is I have a super busy life. I work full time. I've got 2 teenage girls. I've got a household. I run 2 online businesses. I'm doing a cooking show. And if I wanted to make it perfect, it wouldn't get done. So these are some of the things that I want you to have in your mindset. It doesn't matter if it's not perfect, but we go for the best option. So, as a start, you know my sneaky trick, frozen onions. Of course I could be chopping onions, but for this night, because I want to show you how you can still do it quick, I want you to know that you can cook a meal in 20 minutes. It is quicker to cook it than wait for the takeaway. So 20 minutes in, I have some. Now tonight I'm using this stuff. It's an MCT oil. It is coconut. It's flavorless. It has a high smoke point. I just thought I'd show you that I do use a variety of oils. Last week I used an olive oil with a chili flavour in it. Tonight I'm just using this. So here I am. I've got my little big pot here, and I'm just going to slot that in. Oh, and you can see I actually pre-warmed my pot. I don't know if you can see there's smoke pouring up, so it's probably a good idea that I did use this. I might just turn the heat down a little bit. I've got a portable induction oven. Oh yes, that is hot. Can you hear that? So basically, again, I'm a flinger. I don't measure. I just used what was left in the bag. It was probably about 1/4 of a bag, and I don't even know how many grams are in this bag. Doesn't really matter. So it's probably about 125 grams of onions. If you want to track, then what you would do is go 125 grams of onions. How many carbs are in that? Divide it by the number of serves. Now, as you know, I like to do big cooking so that I don't have to cook a million times a day. This is grass-fed beef. It is from Coles, but you know, again, it may not be perfect. It's in some plastic, but it is grass-fed, free to roam, all the no added hormones and everything. I've got a few companies that I do like to use. I think I mentioned them last week. No Apron. I know, I've got no apron. I've got my styling outfit on, Clara. Last week I wore a t-shirt, which was our rings, which said, I am real. I totally forgot that on Facebook everything's reversed. So it just looked like rubbish, really. But anyway, as you know, I'm a big fan of just getting stuff done. And last week I posted the whole video onto my wrong platform. I posted it onto my personal page instead of Real Life Medicine page. So there you go, I'm just flopping a bit of that in. So I'm actually going to put 1 kilo in because that'll do us for a few nights. So basically, I've got my big pot here. It's huge, and it's got Now, a kilo of mince. Oh God! And I threw the wooden spoon, I was about to call it. It sounds funny calling it the silicone spoon, doesn't it? The spoon in my enthusiasm to show you the size of my giant pot. I'm just turning this around so that I can mush it up while we're talking. So this dish that I'm making, it's basically a variation on a burrito bowl. We have a lot of burrito bowls. I do love them, but what this is like, it's a Mexican beef mix with some veggies and then some eggs. And then you just bake the eggs. So I'm just giving that a bit of a stir because you know how mince just turns into clumps and you end up with sort of just little hamburgers through your whole dinner. All right, now I can actually turn that heat up again because the mince has cooled down the pan. Now, while that's going, I haven't pre-chopped anything because again, I want you to know that the only preparation I did was get the stuff out of the fridge. So while that's actually cooking, I'm actually just going to chop up my capsicums, which I'm sure there's some fancy way to chop it, but honestly, I'm not that fancy. I'm happy with chunk. I like chunky vegetables, and you know, wouldn't it be lovely if I could do that very fancy chopping? But I can't. So, you know, I'm not going to. Which was part of when I had the idea of doing a cooking show, I thought, oh, you know, I'm not a chef. Only chefs do cooking shows. And then I thought, so many people ask me, you know, Lucy, what do you eat? How do you cook? How do you fit in time to cook? So this is it. And you'll know from last week, if you watch me, I talked about a concept I used to call the lazy girls cooking, like those frozen onions, but I call it the clever girls cooking because I'm talking nicely to myself all the time. I don't even need to joke about being lazy because that sends subliminal messages to my brain that I am potentially lazy, and I can tell you, me and probably the majority of you are not lazy. Sometimes we have different priorities, and instead of saying, actually, that's just not a high priority for me, we say, oh no, I'm too lazy to cook, or I'm too lazy to chop onions. I'm not too lazy to chop onions. I can chop onions like the best of them, but what I'm trying to do is be really time efficient here. So you can see, again, I'm just going to move over to this. Can you see? Like it's not fancy. It's just chunks of capsicum in here. And the other great thing is that you can do this. I mean, because it's not super fancy. I can do this while I'm chatting to you, and again, mega time efficient. There's a couple of ways you can approach cooking, I reckon. You can either decide that it's going to be your time for mindfulness, and we talk a lot about mindfulness. Mindfulness can be meditation. But honestly, what mindfulness is, it's the opposite of mindlessness. So mindlessness is where you just do stuff, you just go through the motions, you're not present, and being not present means you're either thinking about stuff in the future or mulling over stuff in your past. And as humans, we spend a lot of time doing that, worrying about the future, dwelling on the past, rehashing conversations, wished we'd done something differently. We live often in either worry and fear of the future or regret about the past, neither of which are helpful, because then what happens is we miss out on the present. So, guess what I'm putting in now? And that is beautiful Mingle taco one. It's back to front because I forgot about this Facebook thing. Oh, good. And I can see comments now because I'm so clever that I set up the laptop. Good. Excellent. Nikki's doing mindfulness. It's beautiful. Again, so you can certainly do it. You know, everyone talks about meditation and we do love that. But you can actually also be mindful with a task that we would normally assume to be a mindless task. Now, again, I totally love these because they've got nothing nasty in it. It's got garlic, onion, paprika, cumin, pepper, salt, coriander, mustard, oregano, thyme, chili, parsley and basil. Now, sadly, this one is not gluten-free. A lot of them are. This one is because the mustard may contain gluten. So clearly, now mustard isn't a gluten product, so it must be that it's processed in a factory or a processing place that has gluten. Now, okay, you ready for a clever trick? I have both of their other flavours. They're both called Spicy Mexican Blend. That one, sorry, I've got the light, it's not very good. Or their other packaging, which is that one. They're the same product, just in different packaging. These are available at the supermarket. This one, I think you might have to order online. But anyway, I always have a spare. I always have spares of everything. So if, for example, I tasted this and thought it was not quite spicy enough, but I didn't want to fling open a whole packet, you can do a little top up. It's slightly different spices and it does have a slightly, you know, a bit more bite to it actually, but it's delicious. So that's my little tip. I always have these as little top-ups if I want to add a bit more spice to it. So this beef's cooked away now. I'm going to fling in my very imperfectly cut capsicum and the other clever girl's trick. Ta-da! Pre-cooked mushrooms. Now again, I have both sorts in my pantry. If I've got time on a Saturday afternoon and I'm doing a big cook-up, then I'll just buy the mushrooms in the brown paper bags or from my local, we've got a beautiful farm gate, and you know, I can spend that time chopping. But on a Tuesday night when there's kids all over the shop and husband's coming home and me doing cooking shows, then I'm just going with the, you know, the next best option. So basically, that's already in. I'm just going to fling the lid on. Ooh. Now, I forgot to get out my tomato, my tomato paste. Bear with me. Hopefully you won't get to see my cupboards. I'm standing here guarding them because they're not very tidy. But we did a fridge clean out on the weekend and my fridge looks magnificent. But next on the list is a tidy up of the cupboards because they are a bit average. So again, I'm just going to swap in, I don't know, maybe half a jar. I'll have a look and see what it looks like. Kilo of mince, I reckon about half a jar. And then I'll just stir that through and then put this lid back on for a few minutes. It's not going to take very long. So yes, mindfulness. I know people go, oh yeah, mindfulness. And the honest thing is that whenever I talk about it, there is often either a literal or a metaphorical eye roll. Clara, no liquid. Yes, darling, this little bit of, let me talk about this jar. I talked about it last week. It's passata. It is just tomatoes and possibly a bit of salt. There's nothing else in it. It's cheap as chips. It's like $2. And it means that you can turn it into Mexican if you want to. You can add some, you know, Italian herbs and turn it into your bolognese. Or you can use it in your butter chicken curries. So I usually have about 10 jars of this in the cupboard, you know, just in case there's an apocalypse or a lockdown. So I know that there are people that make their own passata and that's wonderful. And again, one day I will do that. That will be my aim. But at the moment I try and find products. So out of all the, you know, the spaghetti sauces, all those Dolmios, Legos, all that garbage, it's Valverde. It's just tomatoes and salt. Let me have a quick look at the thingy. Oh, it's got an acidity regulator, which is one number, 330. But the majority of it, there's not even any water. It's just tomatoes. So seriously, it's for $2. I'm happy with that. So yes, back to the metaphorical eye roll that comes with mindfulness. So I'll often say to people, you know, do you do any meditating? And you know what the answer always is? Oh, I try, but I'm just no good at it. And I get that. it is really quite hard to meditate initially. What happens is you sit down and, I've got my chair outside and I sit down and I go, right, I'm going to be all calm, practice on my breathing, and within about 22 seconds, my mind is wandering off to think about, I don't know, basically, what I'm going to do next. Is there washing in the machine? Oh, I forgot to get the washing out of the machine. Bugger, because that means I've missed putting it out on the line. They need it for tomorrow. I'm going to have to put it in the dryer. Oh, that means money. Oh, bloody hell. And then I have to go, ooh, come back to the breathing. And then I do that for a little while, and then my brain goes, oh, I can hear those birds. That's nice, isn't it? I wonder what time it is. I wonder how many more minutes I've got to go. Do you reckon I'm nearly done yet? And it just does this little chatter all the time. And you know what? That is normal. It is completely normal for it to start like that because, oh, this is looking good, because our brain's job is to think. It's a thinking machine. So what the idea of meditation is to be able to bring it to just focusing on the present moment. So it means you're not spending time in the future or spending time in the past. Now, if that present moment is really focusing on the cooking, that is mindfulness. If that present moment is really listening to your child or listening to your partner, that is mindfulness. If you are sitting at a chair and you're bringing your mind back to focus on, usually breathing is what we focus on. Some people don't. Some people will focus on a saying, a chant. Some people will focus on the colours at the back of their eyelids while they have got their eyes closed. There's no right or wrong reason. What you're doing though is actually training. It's brain training. So just like when you've got a little dog that you haven't brought out for a little while and it wants to run around and sniff everything and it goes over to that bush and has conversation with that dog, and you go, come on, and you just keep bringing it back. Bringing it back, bringing it back. That's basically training. So I often talk about meditation as training your dog. Now, for some people, they have a dog that is very obedient and very quickly, a learns quickly dog. So, oh, look who's making another guest appearance today. Hello, Kat. Yes, wanting to come in. So the thing that people have to work with is their type of brain, so their dog. But you know what? If you go to dog training school, they will tell you every dog is trainable. You may need to put more effort into some. So we've got 2 white fluffies and a Kelpie. Now the Kelpie's smart. The fluffies, no idea. So if I was training them, the fluffies would be running. Not maybe as briskly as the Kelpie, but bloody hell, they're 10 years old and they still can't walk in a line. The Kelpie would like to run away and like to run all over the place, but she's been trained. She walks with you. So we can do the same with our brain, just training it, bringing it back, doing it all very kindly. There's no point getting mad with ourselves that we're not doing it. There's no point kind of yelling and going, this is ridiculous. I can't believe how long I've been doing this. I'm going to take the lid off and just let some of that, I'll turn it down a bit. Can you hear it sizzling? Now, I have this rule of 3 with veggies. I like 3 colours. Now, technically there's 3 veggies already in there. In fact, there's 4. Because there's the onion, the mushrooms, the capsicum and the tomatoes. But again, using up, I had this looks a bit sad. This is actually a bag of spinach that got at the back of the fridge and got frozen. So I've just defrosted it, so it's looking a bit lame. But that'll go in, and that makes just that lovely bit of colour. I am always, and again, I do, if I'm going to buy a product in a plastic bag, if I'm going to use that environmental burden, then I'm going to make sure I use it. It's a bit like meat. I am very passionate. If I have bought some meat, come hell or high water, I've been known to get up at 10 o'clock at night because I realised I've got food that needs to be cooked. Because I will not let that animal sacrifice its life to be thrown in a bin because I just was too disorganised to cook. So that's kind of, I just like to think of it like that, Same with the, you know, if I'm going to buy spinach in a plastic bag and I'm not going to harvest it and pluck it from my own garden, then I tell you what, if I've bought it, I'm using it. So there's basically a beautiful, now, this is where the egg bit comes in. So, just making sure I put everything in, because last time I made a satay and nearly forgot to put the peanut in. So, I've got these eggs. Look. Again, they're Coles. I know I need to go to the farmer's market, but again, I'm being kind to myself because this week is a very big week for us. We have launching, you know, the doors to our 12-week mind-body rebalance have opened. There's been a lot of work that we've had to do behind the scenes. And so I didn't get time to go to my beautiful little farmer's market. I had to do a Coles online order, which mercifully I could do in bed on my phone. Not good sleep hygiene. Don't follow my practice. But I did get, again, it's not perfect, but it's the best available solution for me. Organic free-range eggs. Large. I like large eggs. I don't know why, but you know, I really just hate little eggs. So I always buy the biggest I can find. I would have got extra large, but they didn't have any in. So I'm just turning the thing down. So because this is basically a lot of a fair bit of protein, it's 1 kilo of protein, but we do love protein in this house. So now, the kind of little piece de resistance is I just crack a few eggs, I make a little well, and I plop them in. Okay, so again, this is a massive pan, so I reckon I'm probably going to put 9 eggs in it. Everyone's using passata, good. Now, just little wells. So basically this dish is nearly done, and I reckon, and I've been not quite 20 minutes, but certainly 25. As soon as I've cracked the eggs in, then basically I just put the lid on for 5 minutes and they bake away. And since nobody's home to actually eat them yet, I'll just have them resting in the pan, ready for action when, you know, the troops get hungry. Well, the troops are just me and hubby because, you know, the girls are vegetarian. So vegetarians, people often ask me, what could a vegetarian eat? So, of all the processed meats, I hate them. I hate them with a passion. They are terribly bad for us. They are a huge burden on our body. They are processed beyond belief. The girls will eat something called quorn, which is spelled with a Q, and it is a fungus that's sort of been textured and somehow looks a bit like mince. It's still not ideal. I encourage them more to eat beans and lentils. It suits them because they're vegetarian, they need their protein. It's tricky to do low carb as a person who is a vegetarian. But the thing is that I'm very mindful of their reasoning. It is completely ethical, and there is nothing that I'm going to do to change their mind about it. So there's no point me having that battle with them. What I do, like everyone I work with, is I meet them where they're at. So if they're vegetarian and they want to do low carb keto vegetarian, the focus is for them going to be on a lot of eggs and a lot of cheese, and basically if they need to, they can put in some lentils and things like that. You know, the question is, are lentils better than protein powder? There's no randomized controlled trials, I'll tell you that. And so I guess it's a matter of personal opinion. I don't have a strong thought either way. I don't like protein powders in general because they are highly processed. But if a person cannot get their protein requirements because of various reasons, maybe they have no teeth and they can't chew meat, that does happen. Maybe they've had a very tight sleeve and they actually can't swallow their meat, that also happens. So then we do look at protein powders. It's tricky because they are quite processed, particularly the pea proteins, very processed. So then you go, well, the whey protein is the least processed protein powder, but whey in itself can be quite insulinogenic. and for some people, it's not helpful on their weight loss. Whey protein powders, otherwise, if you're a vegan, then they're obviously not an option. And again, I do see people who are vegan, and for them, we use a pea protein powder because I look at it and I go, right, well, what have I got to work with here? There is no point getting all dogmatic or perfect about anything in life, because everything, it's all about getting the best option for that person. So in my case, the best option for me today was to use my frozen onions and my mushrooms in a bag. It's not perfect, I recognize that. I will take them to the recycling soft plastic place. But the other option is to, well, certainly I could chop them, yeah, and I could do that, there's no doubt about that. Or that's when people start going, it's all too hard, there's too many barriers, and then they go and buy takeaway instead. So today, my loves, I'm having a look. I'm going to rise the lids and see when it's done. Oh, it's getting there. It's a little bit watery. I'm going to just take this off, turn the heat up a little bit, because I don't want it too watery. And this is the whole thing with, you can just play it around with it like that. So basically what we've talked about today in our cooking, coaching and conversations is I've talked about the idea that you can use any opportunity for mindfulness. All of it trains your brain. That it is very good for our brain to be in the present. It's tricky though, because our brain doesn't like to do it. It does like to think about the future. It's kind of fun. For whatever reason, it likes to replay the past, which is no fun. Unless it was a fun time, I guess. And that's different, okay? It's different to reminiscing. You're allowed to reminisce, don't get me wrong. You're allowed to reflect. It's just when you get stuck in loops, you know, and you go round and round and round, and you replay conversations and you rehash things, and then they become embedded in that brain of ours. And basically it robs us of our present and our future when we spend all our time in a negative thought loop about the past. So we've talked that cooking is a perfect opportunity to be mindful, and that it takes practice. It really does, particularly if you've got a busy brain, and particularly if it hasn't been very well trained, a bit like mine. People often say to me, but it's so boring just sitting there. That's the brain going, I need to be entertained. The brain wants entertainment, and it's okay. It's actually okay to be bored. Boring is actually good. Gives everything a chance to just settle down. Good. I'm just moving this giant thing over because it's actually a bit big for my little portable chef's toolbox. What do you call this thing? Induction cooktop. But basically, I'm really happy with it. I'm just going to get a spoon and give it a little taste and make sure that I've put enough salt in. Now, for those of you who've never seen me moving, because a lot of the time you get to see me doing this, I have quite a significant disability. I have muscular dystrophy, and I really have quite a lot of problems with my lower leg muscles. So there's quite a lot of schlepping, which I think is a new word that I do. And so if you ever wonder what on earth's going on, it's me schlepping. It's good. Does need a bit more salt. Oh, see, and just the right amount of mingle. It's just got a little bit of zing in it. So this salt, I think I told you guys about it last week. And again, I know not everyone watched last week, but it's called heart salt. I do like it because it's got sodium and potassium in it. So for people that are worried about their electrolytes on a low carb diet, you can have this stuff. It's cheap as chips. It's like, I don't know, $2 or something for this, you know, big container. So that's another way to do it. Let me have a little look. Speaking of, what have I got here? Alani's at work. She's listening with one ear, one eye, watching with one eye. You like that, listening with one eye. Susan is listening while driving, and Hannah talking about mindfulness, watching while she plays with her baby and doing leg stretching. So what you're doing is multitasking, which I do a lot of too. Multitasking, sadly, is the opposite of mindfulness. And it's really interesting. I've actually been reading a whole book on multitasking and how that's potentially been part of our problem with getting things done. And in fact, they've done a whole lot of studies on it. It's really interesting about the idea that doing a couple of things at once. Now, it depends what you're talking about, right? So, you know, if it's folding the washing, if it's not a task that needs your full critical attention, you know, usually in most houses, nobody dies if you fold the towel a bit crooked. But if you've got other jobs that actually need your full attention and you're then doing other things as well, doing 3 things at once means that everything gets about a quarter of your attention, not a third. And that's actually one of my new things that I'm aiming for this year. You know how they talk about, like, I've got a couple of things, but one of, you know, they had the word of the year. Have your word of your year. So my word is cultivate, which I quite like because that then allows me to have quite a few things. So I'm cultivating, focusing my attention on one thing at a time. So in many ways, I'm cultivating mindfulness because for me, it's something I do struggle with. I sit down at the computer and I start typing something and then a little ding comes into my brain and goes, oh, what about that email you said you'd reply to? Oh yes, I'll stop what I'm doing and I'm going to answer that email. Then something comes up and I start writing again, and then, you know, the dog's scratching at the door and I hop up and do the door. You know, multiple interruptions means you get really nothing done. Right, my lovelies, what have I got here? Yes, Robin, this is the same. Heart salt is just a different brand. It is the same as the light salt. So yes. Now, my loves, I'm going to go because it's 5:30. That is ready. It probably needs a few more minutes, but really I can do that. In fact, while I'm cleaning up, that will finish its cooking and be ready for the table. So it's got, and when I talk to myself, I talk to myself a lot. I talk a lot, really. But when I'm eating, I will talk to myself, and I usually eat food in a bowl, and I'm going to myself, oh my God, body, look what you've got tonight. You've got beautiful protein from that mince. You've got beautiful egg, which is full of protein and some great healthy fats. It's got choline. It's got vitamin K2 in it. It's got a whole heap of other vitamins. It's beautiful to talk to your body about that. And so, no, I'm looking at the eggs, darling. They're quite fine. I'm just going to turn it around because, as I said, I've got this giant, what do you call this thing? Giant pan that actually is a bit too big for the cooker. Didn't quite realise, but that's okay. So I'm often talking to people about the idea that we sacrifice our body to appease our mind, because it's really our mind that says, oh, I don't want to cook, I want to have, you know, Macca's, or I don't want to cook, let's get something, or I don't want to eat that dinner, I want to eat pizza. And cat's now trying to open the door. So it really is the idea that the mind gets to be in charge, and the poor old body just gets stuck with whatever the mind decides to do. So when my body, when I've made good choices, I like to let the body know, and I like to say, look body, look what we've got for you. And yeah, I'm going, oh my God, look, you've got, and it depends. Sometimes I'll do it with Thai food. I'm going, oh my God, look, you've got lemongrass, you've got ginger. You're going to be so happy with me. And then I give myself a little pat on the back. So I would encourage you all to be really thinking about your body and your mind. Mindfulness you can do with cooking. Cooking is an act of self-care. We're always talking about self-care and actually self-love. Because at the end of the day, my loves, you are worth good food. You're worth it. Your brain is worth it. Your body is worth it. And real food makes a world of difference to your long-term health. I think that's enough from me now, darlings. I do rabbit, but well, actually, I don't eat rabbit. I never have, but I rabbit on. Darlings, Dr. Lucy Burns from Real Life Medicine. Keep your eyes peeled tonight because Mary is doing an Ask Me Anything session on this page as well at 7. And if you did want to join our 12-week mind-body rebalance, you get a $50 voucher for Mingle. Because the whole reason I bang on about Mingle is because I use it all the time because it has made my life so easy. It makes my life quick, it makes my cooking delicious, and it is such a great alternative to all those other bullshit sachets that are full of garbage. So I will never buy Taco Bill's again, or whatever it's called, El Paso, Old El Paso. Why would I buy that when I've got this? So there you go, darlings. Bye for now. I have to schlep round and turn off the thing because I'm too far away. So I'll see you later. Bye, darlings.